We are in the background here in what you want to call the green room. We are going to be live here shortly with River West Radio. Got a little more than 30 seconds to go. So if you're just tuning in and catching us at the beginning, just stand by. We are going to be starting real soon here. Got the countdown clock up, about 25 seconds. And if you are tuning in on YouTube, you can always listen live on the radio. You can see up on the corner here, it says riverwestradio.com. There is a listen live button if you go there. Welcome to Ability MKE Now. My name is Sue Roskoff. Ability MKE Now is a show all about integration, bringing people with disabilities and people that don't have a disability together, enjoying life here in the Milwaukee area. We all have different abilities, and here at Ability MKE Now, we dive into this topic of diverse abilities. The concept of disability hits a wide range of possibilities. We could be talking about physical or mental disabilities, the deaf and hard of hearing community, blindness, chronic pain, mental health diagnosis, goals of substance use reduction, and the list goes on. We all have our own experience with disability, whether it's our own, with people we know, or with people we encounter in our daily lives. Here at Ability MKE Now, we break down the barriers and celebrate the ability in all of us. And I am so excited to bring a gentleman to the show that actually, this is going to be fun for me because I know I've known his name, I know a little bit about him, but I have not had the chance to much talk with him directly until tonight. So I am thrilled to be able to bring in Richard Brooks to join us in the show. And Richard, come on in. If you want to just give us a quick intro, tell us just a bit about yourself. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Sue. Uh, and I believe we may have met in a few other events in the past, but again, sometimes those sort of disappear in the past and you forget about them. Uh, but just to quickly go in a little bit about myself, I help business owners at this point after a over 55-year business career. I retired back in 2018 and went from working full time for other people to being full time online. And the primary platform that I've spent over 40 hours a week over the last couple of years has been the Alignable platform. Not that I'm not on Facebook, LinkedIn, and others, but I am primarily on the Alignable platform. And for those who may have met me there, I am a group leader and I currently am the admin for 3 different groups on that platform.
Very nice. So, and how long have you been using Alignable?
I started in Alignable in January 1st, I believe, of 2023. And I started as a free member, like most people all do. But within the first week, I immediately had this urge to try to help business owners. Because again, if people remember back to January of 2023, that was not long after COVID was starting to go away, but a lot of businesses were still failing. So I immediately went through training to have a group on Lineable, and the my original group was called Save My Business because I hate to share with people, but the failure rate since I graduated from college in 1972, it's still the same today, and it's 9 out of 10 businesses, new businesses, are guaranteed to fail either in the first year or guaranteed within the first 10 years. So it's uh, it's sort of a sad state of affairs that only one survives. So my mission over these years has been to try to help business owners survive.
Excellent. Well, and if I can pick your brain a little bit about Alignable, because I have an account on there, but truly I have not played around to understand how it works. I really I'm as green as it gets as far as how that works. So as a total newbie to that, how would I start if I wanted to go in there and do some networking using that platform? What's all available there and how does that work?
Well, I'm used to hearing this. Even in I host two 1 hour networking events out of my one group every single week, week after week. And I'm also today I hosted three other different events on top of those. So,
Wow.
but just to give you in the audience just a brief understanding, Alignable is just another platform. It is free to join. You can upgrade to be a premium member for certain other features, but as a free member, you're given so many connection credits. Now, that is important to understand because even though Alignable has approximately 10 million business owners on it, it's all business owners. You might see them on Alignable. You could search for them, but there's no way for you to message or connect with them unless you use one of your connection credits or they use one of their connection credits to connect with you. So the only way other than direct connection that way is Alignable has a software called Smart Connect, and it's run on and through the platform. It's not Zoom, it's not Google Meet, it's their own software. And it is somewhat limited. It has its own restrictions, but in that, during the 1 hour period, you'll meet approximately 5 to 7 people in 7 minute one-on-one breakout rooms. Uh, the just to give you a little more information, when you're in one of those rooms, there is no chat feature, so you cannot send anybody any links or spam people. The whole platform is designed not to really promote your business. It's more to develop relationships with people that hopefully will be a long-term relationship where then at some point you're both comfortable referring each other.
Excellent. Which there you go with that whole who do you align with uh, on uh, on the platform there where you can. Okay, so I'm starting to wrap my head around this. So as a new person, I would come on, I would create my own free account, and then I'm assuming there's a way to kind of search then to find what's all out there and just figure out where can I meet people and you said it's all business owners there, right? Did I catch that part
Right.
correct?
There's approximately 10 million business owners. Now, I will be honest, it's the same as LinkedIn. You'll look up as somebody and it'll say that they started their account 5 years ago and they've never posted or done anything in the last 5 years. So some people are active, some people are not. Um, but in the uh, in the tabs at the top, when you open your account, you will see things like events. You can click there, and you can. The one great thing about Alignable for new people is that you can then pick an event, and I'm referring to a Smart Connect event. In the morning, you could see what's going on that day. You could pick one that day. You could register for it. You could show up for the 1 hour, and you're going to meet generally 5 to 7 people in a 7 minute breakout. Now, Alignable uses AI and they match up the tags that you put in your profile with the tags that those people put in to try to link you up the best with people that you're interested in talking to. Um, but I will tell you one of the key things as a new person on Alignable is if you're going to be on there, your profile is everything. So by spending an hour or so building up your profile, putting in as many images and text as you can, that's what people judge you. That's sort of like your business card that they see really before and after they talk to you.
Gotcha. Okay. Excellent. So, and I know you said you have a long business history. You want to share a little bit about what you did previously throughout your career?
Well, during the 55 plus years, I was predominantly in management. I did everything from unit management all the way up to corporate management. Um, like, for example, I'll just share that I spent well over 10 years with a company that many of your audience across the United States and Canada might be aware of, and that's Cracker Barrel Old Country Stores. Uh, I was not only out there as in unit management, but they selected me. I went to the home office and I trained probably somewhere between 5 and 10,000 restaurant managers, um, along with other trainers at the corporate office. And that was just one of the corporate positions that I held over the years. But also during my long career, at times I broke away. At 5 different points, I went back into insurance. I first started with New York Life in 1980. There was no computers, there was no cell phones. All they gave you was a rate book and a box of index cards, and the box of index cards was your whole filing system. Uh, Back then, people carried a roll of dimes in their pocket. And no, I was not a mobster that used them to punch somebody. Um, but for the people that haven't been around a long time, like myself, that was the only way you could communicate. You took a dime, you went to the nearest payphone, and you made a phone call. There was no cell phones, so.
Actually, I love that. It's actually that's one of those. You're right. There's a lot of people who have no concept of that. Oh my gosh, having flashbacks. Because yes, I'm old enough to have
There
been
was
able to
rotary
say I use
dial phones for those that, and by the way, later on, phone booths actually had push buttons, but originally they were just like your home. They had a rotary dial phone in them. But I did insurance at parts of my career. I worked for a bank for a while. I was a mortgage broker at 2 different times, doing mortgages for people. My whole career between insurance, management, and all the others, basically, if you really narrow it down, my whole thing I was doing was trying to help people. And even now, after I stopped working full time for someone else, all these last few years and currently, I'm still on that mission to help people.
I love that. That really, speaking of alignment, that aligns a lot with our values. We're always out trying to help people and do what we can to shed light on where there are needs and share for us personally, we share one of our favorite sports. We are water skiers. We're going to be on the water soon. Believe it or not, we're not that far away, only a couple more weeks, and we're going to be freezing our, our toes off as we get into the lake as it's still warming up. But we are looking forward this summer to doing some adaptive ski events, and that's all. It's in the works to get those dates out there for people. But I gotta back up. You made the comment about Cracker Barrel. We have a little bit of a crossover here where right after I graduated from college and before I got my first job in my field that I went to school for, I was a waitress at Cracker Barrel for about 4 months. So
So you were a 1 star.
I was a 1 star. I still have my apron here somewhere with the 1 star on there. Yes. And
Oh, well, you could have told me you were there a couple of weeks and made 4 stars, but I don't know. Um,
oh no, I wasn't out
but
there long enough to earn more.
it's interesting you mentioned water. I grew up as a child on a lake in Michigan, and uh, right behind our house every 4th of July, they towed the ski jump, and there was a big empty lot next to our house on that corner of the lake in which hundreds of people from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and other communities would all drive there to watch a one of the best water ski shows, as far as I know, in the world. Uh, I mean, there's great ones in other states. I used to live in Florida. They had great water ski shows, but um, and I remember I'll use the word attempting to learn and water ski at times myself. So,
Excellent. Yeah, strangely enough, that's our backstory of how we're here doing Ability MKE now, is with our passion for water skiing, and we do ski shows all summer long. We have for years hosted a day, just one day in the summer, where we were able to share the use of a sit ski. So really, people of any ability would be able to utilize that. If stand-up skiing was not the best answer and sit-down skiing is, we
right.
made that happen, and now we've been able to do some great things across the state, and have several have many locations now across the state where that's available, and we have more opportunities now than ever before to be able to share the sport that we love. So I love that you had that kind of a connection here, that is that
Oh
close to
yeah, I
you.
remember a lot of the people I grew up with at the time. First of all, you started on two skis, and then when you really felt you were good, you went to a solemn ski, a single ski, and then when you got really good, then you started practice barefoot skiing, um, which is a great way to crash and burn real fast.
Oh, some of the most spectacular falls happen when they're doing that because they're going so fast. That's Kurt used to do that, actually. He finally gave it up. Oh my gosh. He was the guy that would catch a toe and kind of go face first, but then his feet would come over his back and almost slap the back of his head. He finally was like,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
enough. And yeah, I forget what do they call that, like doing a spider, or no, scorpion, because your feet are coming all the way up and over the top like a scorpion tail. I never have barefooted. That's one mm, I don't want to break. So I have my
Well, now,
limits.
Sue, you've been interviewing me, but I would like to hear a little bit from you if you would explain a little bit about Ability MKE Now. Um, I have a basic understanding, but here I'm in front of an expert, so why not ask?
Absolutely happy to talk more about why we're here and what got us here, really. And it's the skiing that got us here. It was the whole piece with when we let's see, the short version of the story. Those that have been longtime listeners of Ability MKE Now might remember a friend of ours named Adam. He was a host with us here many years ago when we first really got the show started, and it was an experience we had with him that changed the course of our lives, actually. Oddly enough, we never saw it coming, but it's what happened, and we're thrilled it did. So there was a night that he was going to ski with us during a ski show, and it did not end up happening. So there was a variety of reasons why he ended up not skiing the show. He happens to be a wheelchair user, so he would have used our sit ski to ski in our show, and it didn't happen. And in the course of all sorts of things that were with that, it came about basically that we said, you know what? We need more opportunities for everybody to be able to ski. And Kurt ended up doing all sorts of things with calling around, talking to different people, figuring out what should be done next. How can we make a difference here? And part of that included a call to the gentleman who at the time was the president of the Wisconsin Water Ski Federation. And at that time it was a movement to be able to share our sport more widely. So he asked Kurt if he would be willing to be the first director of the disabled division. It's now the name has changed a bit. It now ability. There's other ways to word things, but at the time it was called the Disabled Division. So Kurt was the first director, and he served for 2 years. And in that time, we were able to expand the opportunities from, I don't know if there's, I forget the exact number now, but I believe there was maybe 4 or 5 places across the state. And by the time it was all said and done, there's more than 30 places now that are trained and able to provide adaptive skiing for anybody. In that process, he met and networked with so many people, including during this time, the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA law that that's why we have curb cutouts and all those things. That was celebrating, or that the passage of that act was having its 25th anniversary celebration. So the bill was originally passed in 1990, so it would have been 25 years later. We're talking 2015. We had the celebration going on nationwide, and Kurt said, "Hey, how about Ability Fest? Let's make a big celebration take place." And it ended up being at a park, was it Willoway Park in southern part of Milwaukee. And while we were at that event, he had lined up music, he had food, he had tables, he had vendors, all these things, adaptive sports, all this stuff. One of the things that took place, or one of the vendors that was there, was a gentleman by the name of Marty Hagedorn, who was there sharing with everybody about time banking. But he also was a host here on Ability, or not on Ability MK Now. He was a host with River West Radio. And the more that he and Kurt were talking, the more he was saying, "Hey, you guys should have a show sharing all these things that you do and highlighting people and activities and all these wonderful things going on." And that's where the conversation started, that how Ability MKE Now was born. And we've had several different folks that have hosted with us over the years. And the last few years now, it's been me being here as the main host. But that's really the progression of how we got here. And it truly is highlighting and celebrating the ability in all of us. What can we do that is for everybody? And that's where what you're doing. Oh my goodness, we actually just lost the radio station. But we will, I'm sure will be popping back in here. Oh, there they are. So with what we all have been doing here on this show, we've highlighted wonderful people, activities, all the things that are really for everybody. And I'm thrilled that you've been able to join us tonight. I know we had another guest that was lined up to come in here as well, and was unfortunately not able to make it. So I can't even tell you how happy I am to have this chance to talk to you and learn more about what you do, about what Alignable does. And I don't know, does that answer your question? That was kind of a long-winded
Oh,
answer.
yeah, no, it does. But I do have one other quick question, and that
Sure.
is, or a concern. You mentioned the Disability Act. Um, I know, it was a very important act to get passed. I've heard that over recent years that perhaps it's not being enforced as much, or there's less enforcement or less money into it, or whatever the case might be. And as everyone knows right now, government is all kinds of strange things are happening. Let me just say that. So, um, with that said, how is the act currently? In other words, is there any enforcement of it? Is it moving forward? Is it being forgotten? Maybe you could touch on that.
That is a great question. And to be honest, I am not an expert there. So that is a really good question. It is law, it needs to be enforced. I know there's been additional acts that have come forward that, because really the ADA only takes things to a certain extent. There's a lot more that needs to be done that kind of levels the playing field, because I think one thing that's kind of, should I say, dangerous, a lot of people that have disabilities are not necessarily out in public as much as those that don't have visible disabilities. I'm talking about like things that you can see, that you don't see as many people in a wheelchair at a baseball game as you do people walking around. It's just it's the numbers.
Right.
So my fear is with that, people just forget. And until I had a good friend that's a wheelchair, that's like a full-time wheelchair user, until I started going places with him, I never thought about things like, oh yeah, is this restaurant accessible? Because I'd say we'd be saying, hey, let's go to such and such place for supper on some night. And he's like, well, wait a second, I gotta call ahead and make sure I can get in. Like, oh, really? Okay. And that's where it just hit me between the eyes because I don't have to think about that, but think of really how many people do. And that's where, again, like what you're saying, Americans with Disabilities Act, it is so important that that exists. And I know there's a lot of buildings out there that are grandfathered in, all those things, but that
Yeah,
is
that
such a
I will
basic
just
need.
say that was my experience in the restaurant industry, both in managing restaurants and then later for over 7 years, I was a restaurant inspector. And, many of the buildings, or operations, they were somehow grandfathered in or something so that they did not have to cater to the disabled. And it was sort of, I just saw that, and obviously I had no control over it. So that's why I'm glad you touched on that, and hopefully people will be aware of it.
Because I think another piece that gets forgotten is how big of the percentage wise of our community, like 25% of our community falls under that category of disabled. Or think about how much more business a company can have if they are more inclusive. It truly can make a massive difference depending on what a person does, what their business is. If they think about how to include those with disabilities, their bottom line could skyrocket based on whatever it is that they're offering. It's something that I think people underestimate the difference that can make.
Well, I really appreciate your openness as far as all the different disabilities you're including. Some people automatically, when they hear the word disability, and I'm not trying to be a total judge here, but some people just automatically think disability is a wheelchair. If it isn't a wheelchair, you're not disabled or something. But like you were mentioning, people don't realize the deaf, the blind, the partially deaf, the partially blind, uh, and other infirmities that people with a walker or just I'll be honest with you, I'm getting up in age. I have one hip that they would like to replace, but it isn't. I'm not replacing it at this point. So that means I'm just not able to get around and jump around like I used to when I was younger. So,
Yeah, we have a friend locally here that he uses the phrase tab, temporarily able-bodied, and we're all tabs. We're you start out often, and even those of us who start out in good shape, that changes as we age. Things start to change, fall apart a little bit. It's just a reality of life, and I only hope I get to be at an age where that will continue to happen. We try to keep ourselves in as best shape as possible, but we age, things change. And I think that, again, people that are not conscious of the thought don't really give it the value that it needs because just because I'm not using a wheelchair today doesn't mean I won't be using one in the future or a walker or whatever it may be. So that's where the importance really is for all of us. It's all around. So
absolutely, many families that are thinking forward, they're already even in middle age. They're already rearranging their home for what will be, where they're going to be at 20 years from now, 30 years from now, or whatever. And you see people, remodeling their home, with that in mind.
yeah. So, Richard, this has been such a pleasure having you with us. Richard Brooks has been just a lovely guest this evening. Thank you so much for this great conversation. My name again is Sue Roskoff, and for all of us here at Ability MKE Now,